So today I was reminded of the lesson to forgive myself. So I want to encourage you to also forgive yourself. You are not your mistakes. And so many times we go through life bearing so much unforgiveness, bitterness, and resentment for the mistakes that we have made. And what we do is that we externalize those resentments, those grudges, that bitterness, and we blame other people, right? And there's an old lesson that says forgive and forget. And we work so much to forgive other people for their roles in what has transpired in our lives, and by the token that they were involved in their lives as well, is that we'll want to forgive and forget when it relates to other people. But we neglect to forgive ourselves for making those initial mistakes. So forgive yourself for choosing to be in that wrong relationship. It was your mistake. Now you know better. You must do better. But that doesn't mean perpetually punishing yourself for making that mistake. You are not your mistake. That is something that you did. And once you forgive yourself, you realize that it's no longer part of you. Okay. And one thing that I've also learned is that forgiving others doesn't mean forgetting. You have to remember the lessons of those mistakes and take them forward so that you don't repeat them in future relationships, in future aspects of your life, in other endeavors that you will be doing. All right. And also, if somebody has hurt you, abused you, transgressed your boundaries, that doesn't mean that because you've forgiven them, you have to let them back into your life, right? You can't deny access, right? Apology accepted, access denied, because there are people who just don't belong in your life anymore once you've learned what you've learned about them. Okay. So I'm not the person who forget who believes in forgive and forget. No, I'm definitely going to forgive. But forgetting is something that I don't do. That's not to say I'm going to continually punish that person. It means that I have to accept who they are and what they've shown themselves to be. And I also have to accept how I respond and react to them. And so it's possible to live in that forgiveness without necessarily continuing to have a relationship with another person. But the person that you are always going to have a relationship with is yourself. And so having that concept of self compassion and self forgiveness is actually a part of self mastery. That's how you also get to know yourself as well, because you have to know how you respond to your mistakes. And I'm a person, I can get very hard on myself. But this morning, throughout the day, I've been reminded to say, hey, Esme, forgive yourself, right? It's pointless redirecting blame to other people when you actually played a part in whatever transpired that led to that negative situation. So it's about learning from that, number one. And number two, always, always remember to have that compassion for yourself. Forgive yourself for that mistake you made. Forgive yourself that perhaps you stepped into that wrong job and it's no longer the job for you. Once you've forgiven yourself, now you can make a different decision and take a different step towards the right direction. Forgive yourself for being scammed and losing all that money because you were absent-minded and right? Yes, we don't like adverse and negative things happening to us. But we also need to be mindful that even when those things happen, there is an element of participation that happened from ourselves. Whether we allowed it to happen or not, we did participate. willingly or unwillingly. And part of moving forward in forgiving others, and what makes it easier to forgive others, is to get into the practice of forgiving yourself as well. So please, please, please always remember, forgive yourselves for your mistakes, learn from them, grow from them. You are not your mistakes. That is not your identity. It's simply experience that you went through. And now that you have learned from that, and hopefully you have, so that you don't experience and repeat the same mistakes, because life is a class. You will keep repeating the class that you keep failing. Once you have learned from that and now have passed the class, move on, and remember that you are not your mistakes. You should not identify with your mistakes. You have to move on from them and do better. Okay? Forgive yourself.